All right, let's get this going. Today we're going to be doing the install of this breather. This breather is absolutely beautiful. I'll come up close so you can see it. It's from Bad Dad. I have this on Beast, so I figured I'll put the same exact piece to connect Beast and Anubis together with a few parts that's similar. All right, so let's get my favorite part of the day going. Is when I start to big this baby up, get this bad boy up. If you're thinking about getting a lift, this lift system is fantastic. I love it. Put that lock down. It has a security lock, which is perfect. You never have to worry about it coming down at all. All right, let's do this. Figure while I'm here, I might as well just clean this up a little bit. Get those years of dirt off of here while I have the opportunity to do so. All right, so one thing to bear in mind, this comes together. This Bad Dad kit comes together. Just for packaging purposes, they say that inside of the manual as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove all of these screws. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And that is, what size is this? This is a 3/16, all right? Hex head. So we're gonna take that out and hold it securely so it doesn't break, doesn't fall. Okay, there it is. Now did I unscrew everything enough? One bolt needs to be unloosened a little bit, and then everything will come up. So be careful not to let this thing fall. There we go. So we're lifting up this top. Now when you lift at the top, you have a bunch of parts in here. So take your time, okay? So I'm taking out all the hardware that comes with this just to have these things already placed down. And then we're gonna start the install. I ain't gotta worry about taking the time to take these out. All right, we're gonna install that gasket that comes in this package. Okay, so we got this emptied out. That's garbage. The gasket, you wanna make sure you orientate the gasket according to the direction of where it needs to go. So you basically look at the shape of this and let's find out where we want this to be orientated. There we go. So that's how it's orientated. See it? So you want to line it up to that hole, the openings, and then we're going to move on. We're going to use some red Loctite on all the 7 bolts and screws going into the backing plate. So all 7 bolts that we have, we're going to put some red Loctite. If you don't have red Loctite, get yourself some red Loctite. All right? So let's get these screws. Let's find the gasket, find the orientation of the gasket. It's gonna go pretty much just like this. That's gonna be the way it's gonna go in. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put a little placeholder just so I can have a lineup of it, make sure it lines up properly and make sure everything is orientated properly. I'll just do a little holding it in place. See what I'm saying? And I'll do the same thing here, and then I'll do the same thing here. So then I'll take the red Loctite, and they don't want you tightening this down like really tight right now. So anytime you're using Loctite, remember you don't need to use a lot. You don't have to use a whole lot at all. So I'm just gonna put a little drop on here, put that in. Do the same thing for this one. Make sure that I'm getting the gasket, put that in. I think people overkill on Loctite. Don't overkill on Loctite. And let me just make sure that this is lining up properly with that gasket head. There we go. Now the reason why they don't want you to tighten this down all the way is because we're gonna put some pieces back here as well. So I'm just gonna put this in here, make sure it falls into its place properly. Let's get this out. Now if you're not paying attention, you will miss this whole piece right here. This whole piece you would miss. We got to get that off to get the bolts inside, so that way we can lock it into this motor. Oh, that's on tight. Okay, so now that we got these in, you're gonna take the standoff right here. We're gonna put that behind this, and we're gonna put that bolt in a spot, all right? But we're gonna Loctite that, and that's gonna get torqued down to 120 to 144 inch-pounds. And these are gonna get torqued down to 55 to 60 inch-pounds. Know that there's a huge difference in inch-pounds versus foot-pounds, all right? So red Loctite, I'm just gonna put that there, get this going in, find that lineup. Here we go. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now there's one that's black and one that's chrome. It doesn't show me the specifics of which side is which. Get that in. Okay, these are your breather bolts right here. Then these little bolts, these little nuts that I just took out, that's also going to get red Loctite. So what goes here, what fits these is a 14 millimeter. I'm just going to use my hands to kind of tighten it in this way for a bit. And then the torque specs, I'm going to set my torque specs so I can wrench this thing down properly. So I'm going to tighten the center one down. I'm not going to torque it down yet, but I'm going to tighten that down. Remember, all 7 bolts needs to have red Loctite, which makes sense because you know how often are you going to be taking these things off anyway. Red Loctite is really made for permanent, when things are in its spot permanently. Get this one to go flushed. Oh yeah, that's looking good. So I'm gonna set my torque wrench to specs and we're gonna torque that down. So I'm gonna start off with these bolts first, all right? And that's gonna be, these are the throttle body bolts. That's these. We're gonna put that to 55 inch-pounds. And your torque specs, let me see, 55. I might just put it to the 60. I'll put it to the higher end. I'll go to 60 inch-pounds. Take my time and torque this baby down and not strip it. What I like about this bolt is deep. You have a deep entry, so you don't have to strip it easily. Golden. All right, let's go on to these, get that torque down. Okay, so we're gonna set the torque wrench to 125 inch-pounds. You got the torque specs between 120 to 144. So I'll just go to 125 on this. Let's get this bad boy torqued down properly. It doesn't require to be really ridiculously tight. There we go. So I'm already at there. So you know what? I'm gonna torque it down a little more. That feels like it can be a little tighter. So I'm gonna go to the higher end. I'll bring this up to 140, actually 135, just to give it a little bit more torque. There we go. That's it. Okay, so that's done. Let's move on to the next piece, which is just putting this cover back on. This one didn't come with any bolts or any hoses, should I say, and it doesn't say anything about the hose. So what I'm assuming is that this is just basically the guideline, and it's gonna just breathe out and go through this pattern without any blowback, and that's a plus. Now, one important thing to note is this has a gasket. Make sure that gasket is right back in its spot. It goes behind this. We're gonna put that in, we're gonna line it back up in place, and we're gonna apply some red Loctite to that little tiny screw, that red Loctite, all right? So we got the little red Loctite, we're gonna put a little bit, grab the little Allen key, line it up, that way I know it's gonna be in its place, and then thread it in. Here we go. I'll hold that. Boom, 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 boom. Man, wrenching the bike is fun. Guys, I'm telling you, you got to come and try your stuff on your bike. I'm giving you guys all the little details, all of it. Okay, whatever, if I ever make errors, guess what? You learn from my errors, because you know I'm gonna share with you anyway. So this, I'm just making sure this is nice and tight. All right, that's sealed. We're gonna do the same exact thing for the other side. Red Loctite. It says specifically all 7 bolts that's connected to the back plate to use red Loctite. All right, the other ones, we're gonna use blue Loctite. We're almost done. This process is not a long one at all. There we go, that's nice and tight. All right, so what I'm gonna do now, we have all this down, it's all finished. I'm gonna hold this into the spot where it needs to go, okay? And then we're gonna take those little parts, those little back pieces, which they call them standoffs. And I'm gonna do the same exact thing that I did first. I'm gonna do a little placeholder. So I'll find the one that I wanna use, get this in a spot, getting ready for attaching, just 1 bolt. I'm gonna put the standoff. These are the same diameter front and back, so it doesn't matter. So we're gonna get that kind of lined up, all right? Now once you line it up, you get that little bolt in, you're fine. So we're just gonna push it through the slot, slide that through, just like this, and just hold that in a spot. I don't have to tighten it down at all. Just gonna hold it in that spot, making sure that we have everything aligned properly. If it's not aligned properly, you will know. Now, we're gonna get some blue Loctite, and we're going to thread. We're gonna put it on the thread here, and then repeat that same process that we just did by putting that through this here, just like that, line that up. We're not gonna torque it down enough yet. We're gonna keep it loose so you have enough room to put the rest of them without having to force it in. So there you go, blue thread locker on that. Push that through the opening. Boom. Just like that. We have 2 more to go, and then 1 more that I did not put thread locker on. That's the first one that I put through. Get that lined up. Beautiful. Last one. Space. Okay, and I'm gonna take out this one so I can put some thread locker on there, okay? So I'm gonna set this down to a torque value of 10 foot-pounds. We're gonna take our time. We're not gonna over torque this thing because it will crack this glass. And just to keep you guys a loop, anytime you have stuff in patterns like this, create a pattern, okay? Kind of like the derby cover. Okay, we're gonna tighten this down a bit. Tighten that down, but not real tight. Just tight enough to where I can feel it grabbing. Okay, I get a little grab. Then we're gonna go down to what I'm gonna call number 2. Okay, that's tight right there. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna go over here to 3. The second you feel it bite, that's when you move on to the next. Go over here to 4. Go over here to 5. And we're gonna torque it down 10 foot-pounds. Nice and easy, no hurry. That's 10 right there too. There you go, 10 foot-pounds already. Let's use the one hand. And you hear the clack. There you go. And then I finish off with this one. Done. That's it. The install is complete. Another piece added to Anubis. Looking great. Let me just clean up my tools and then I'll do a finishing roundabout. All right, so there you have it. Another piece added to Anubis. It's a great build. It's coming together really nicely, and I'm happy about everything so far. This breather system was an easy install. Wasn't complicated. If you've never installed a breather system ever in your life, I gotta give it to Bad Dad. They got it right with the instructions this time, because the last time I did it, it wasn't as clear. They did their thing. I got oil over this thing now, but I mean, this thing is full color, full spectrum, and they highlight every part that you need to know, which is the torque specs for each bolt and how to torque it down. This breather, to me, I like the new system that they have too. There's no hose, so you're not gonna get no blowback inside of this kit, according to what I know. I love how it looks. Let me know your thoughts so far. What do you think? Let me zoom that baby in so you can get, you know what I'm saying, a different visual of what it looks like, so you can see it. Bam, look at that. Look at that. Look at that beauty right there. Come on, man. That's official. Let me give you some more light so you can't say you can't see it. Look at how beautiful that looks. So nice and clean. Is gonna go perfectly with the color scheme of what I'm doing with Anubis. We got the powder coat parts coming in. Hopefully next week we'll have the powder coat pieces put in, and then I have to take the rims, get the rims taken apart to get powder coated, so I can put the new rims on here. I have to get the fork kit, which I might have to wait for next month because of the cost and the value. I have to, gotta budget myself. I can't go crazy right away, which is kind of late. I'm already going crazy. All right, guys, this is it. You got to see this. This is also on Beast as well. I love this type of system. I was gonna use the cone that goes through, but I said, nah, I like this better for the Softail. All right, I'm out. Don't forget, let's get these miles. Let's get this money. Let's get this muscle. And leave your comments, like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'm out.